Thank you, Professor Shikala Nair. Am I audible? Professor Shikala Nair, who is presiding the prestigious academic program of ISSS today, the Sri Shankara Studies Circle of this month. Professor Sangameshan, who is my colleague in the department for a long time. Professor Shiba, another colleague in Sanskrit in the university. Other scholars, those who participate in this today's program, the Mula Grantha Padha Tasya Vyakhyacha. This is the name of this program. So, I am very happy and proud to say that I have been invited for such a very serious academic program, actually a highly intellectual exercise, talking on Dhwanyaloka, that too on the soul of poetry, that is the Rasa Dhwani. So, I know very well that my time is too limited, because to give an introduction to one Kariga of Anandavardhana, it needs hours. Here I am having only 40 minutes, I know, because the time has been already given. So, with all my humbleness, I restrain from a long introduction in the form of giving the Pida Bhumika, and I wish to mention one thing, that after Professor Shikala Nair taking charge as director of the International School of Sri Shankara Studies, it had a very bright, multifaceted activities, very cream activities in the academic field, very healthy academic atmosphere being created. And it was a matter of joy and also a matter of proud even for the university. So, with these observations, I may start my lecture. Wherever I am giving the lecture in the medium of English, but wherever Sanskrit is required, I will give Sanskrit also. These two languages are commonly dealt with the scholarly people, especially those who are working in the Indological studies. May I present my lecture. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram. First of all, may I give what we call a small introduction about Rasa, at least some few sentences in Sanskrit. Then I will switch over to English. When we speak about the Karigas of Dhwanyaloka, the first and the foremost Kariga which dawn in our mind is, which I am going to recite here, दृष्टपूर्वा अपि ह्यर्थाः काव्ये रसपरिग्रहात् सर्वे नवा इव आभान्ति मधुमास इव द्रुमाः. The meaning is very clear and there is no need of any. It is very simple, just like Sri Ramodanda or Sri Krishna Vilasa. भारतीय साहित्य शास्त्रे रसविचारः रसध्वनिविचारः बहुषु ग्रन्थेषु विस्तरेण दृश्यते. रसस्य स्वरूपः, रस आस्वादन प्रकाराः एवं रससामग्री च तत्र प्रतिपादनविषयेषु मुख्यं स्थानम् आवहन्ति. काव्यमीमांसकानां सूक्ष्मेक्षिकया निरीक्षणं, निरीक्षितानां नूतनकाव्यतत्त्वानां सुविशदं प्रतिपादनं च अलङ्कारशास्त्रग्रन्थेषु वस्तुतः बहुत्र दृश्यते. वस्तुतः काव्ये रसपरिग्रहेणैव काव्यस्य नूतनत्वं, तद्वारा अद्वितीयसौन्दर्यञ्च सम्भवतीति सहृदयानाम् अनुभवः. सहृदयचक्रवर्तिना आनन्दवर्धनेन यदुक्तं मया यत् उद्धृता कारिका दृष्टपूर्वा अपि ह्यर्थाः इति. दृष्टपूर्वा अपि ह्यर्थाः काव्ये रसपरिग्रहात् सर्वे नवा इव भान्ति मधुमास इव द्रुमाः इति. औचित्येन रसपरिग्रह एव महाकवेः मुख्यं कर्तव्यमिति, अनौचित्यादृते नान्यद्रसभङ्गस्य कारणं प्रसिद्ध औचित्यबन्धस्तु रसस्य ओमनिषत्परा रसस्य उपनिषत्परा इत्यनया कारिकया तत्र ध्वनिकारेण एतत् सुतरां प्रदर्शितं. वस्तुतः काव्यात्मनः रसस्य मुख्यव्यङ्ग्यत्वेन ग्रहणं, तस्य व्यञ्जकत्वेन काव्ये समस्तकाव्यसम्बन्धिनां समस्तानां घटकानां निबन्धनं च महाकविसम्प्रदायः इति बहुषु सन्दर्भेषु आनन्दवर्धनेन ध्वन्यालोके प्रतिपादितं दृश्यते. तैरेव उक्तम् एतद् अतीव सूक्ष्मतया, अतीव साररूपतया सुप्रयुक्ताभ्यामेव मया उद्ध्रियते. सुप्रयुक्ताभ्यामेव व्यङ्ग्यव्यञ्जकाभ्यां महाकवित्वलाभो महाकवीनाम् इति तेषां वचनमस्ति. एतदनुसारेण एतद् मनसि कृत्वा इतः अग्रे ध्वन्यालोकविषये किञ्चित् आमुखरूपेण ग्रन्थस्य स्वभावः, ग्रन्थकारस्य सृष्टिप्रपञ्चः एवं अन्यसामान्यविषयाणाम् अवतारिकां दत्वा तदनन्तरं कारिकां पठितुमिच्छामि. The first notice of the manuscripts of the Dhwanyaloka was made in 1877 by G. Buller, a German scholar, in his detailed report of a tour in search of Sanskrit manuscripts. The text of the Dhwanyaloka was first published in the Kavyamala series by the Nirnaya Sagar Press, Mumbai. You know very well that the Nirnaya Sagar Press is one of the prestigious press and published without any mistake the books. That is the Nirnaya Sagar Press. And that was published in 1890 on the basis of 3 manuscripts along with Abhinav Gupta's commentary named Lochana. In 1902, It was first completely translated into German language by the great Hermann Jacobi of Bonn University. And afterwards, Ramapisharodi from Kerala, with his great enthusiasm and a great savant in Sanskrit, he first tried to bring out on an ambitious scale an English translation of both the text of Dhwanyaloka and the Lochana. But unfortunately, it is found to stop abruptly at Udyoda 2nd to Karika 16. But both Jacobi and Pisharodi have written numerous notes suggesting their reconstructed readings in view of extremely confusing misreadings found in Nirnaya Sagar Press edition. Professor M. Hiriyanna of Mysore, one famous philologist and philosopher and aesthetician and whatnot, is a great scholar of different fields of Indology. Mr. Hiriyanna from Mysore was recalling how he was recalling in his book, in the introduction, how he wrote the first ever thesis on the Dhwanyaloka, the first thesis on Dhwanyaloka for the MA degree of the Madras University. It's not like nowadays. Nowadays in MA, you know what will be the standard of a paper. But at that time in Madras University, Professor Srikala Nair may be knowing because he is a student of Madras University. I too. The Professor Tyagarajan is in front of me, who is my friend, philosopher and guide. Namaskar. So, at that time, Professor Hiriyanna's dissertation of his PG course in Madras University, that dissertation was divided into several parts and brought out as several PhD theses. That was the basic text. That was the standard of the scholarship of Professor Hiriyanna. And Hiriyanna, he published that dissertation. But though he got the degree, how he desisted from allowing its publication because the text itself was so corrupt. Nowadays, nobody is bothered whether the text is corrupt or not. At that time, the scholarly world never allowed him to publish because, first of all, the text we should be in a position to arrive at the Ur text, the original text. In these circumstances, the scholars had to be satisfied with broad surveys of Dhwani because there is no healthy discussion as far as the original readings of Dhwanyaloka because that was not available. So, the scholars were contented with the discussions on what we call the Dhwani theory in general. And that type of discussion was led by Professor S.K. Day, Professor P.V. Kani, and Professor A. Shankaran, and such great scholars. It appeared, that discussion appeared in between, in the publications, in between 1920 to 1930. That some 1 decade. The learned works of modern scholars like Professor Raghavan, S.P. Bhattacharya, Ramaranjan Mukherjee have indeed illuminated many a point in the Dhwanyaloka, but they avoided very cleverly the discussion of readings. They very cleverly avoided. Why they cleverly? That should be commented upon. A number of subsequent editions of Dhwanyaloka have appeared in India, sometimes with what we call independent new commentaries in Sanskrit by modern editors. It is not old commentaries. Some commentaries written by themselves, by the scholars, those who are working on that text. The text of the Lochana in the published through Nirnaya Sagar edition was no better than that of the Dhwanyaloka itself, and it was limited to the first three Udyotas. These deficiencies actually were sought to be what we call to be end on the basis of a fresh Kerala manuscript by Sri Ramasharaka. This Ramasharaka is the real man. It is written in Sanskrit Ramasharaka, but it's Rama Pisharodi. Pisharodi is a Malayalam word. So in Sanskrit it is called Sharaka. That's all. So that Ramasharaka, even though he published earlier the manuscripts, the preliminary one, the first one, the primary one, but he worked hard throughout the decades and brought new findings and new readings he brought, and he was at it. And this edition of Dhwanyaloka and a complete Lochana with Ramasharaka's Sanskrit commentary also called Balapriya, published in 1940. So that is from Kashi series, Benares, and was published by Pattabhirama Shastri, the great Sanskrit scholar, great Indologist, a great commentator. Tirupati Central Sanskrit University is having a separate department for Pattabhirama Shastri's contributions to study. So that is the stature of the Pattabhirama Shastri. No doubt, he has successfully recovered several improved readings of. First of all, when you want to have any discussion on Dhwanyaloka, we should know what is Dhwanyaloka, what is the nature of the text, what is the real Padha. Here you are discussing about Padha, Moola Padha. That should be the original text, the Ur text. So, no doubt, he has successfully recovered. That is that Ramasharaka's contribution, Ramapisharadi's contribution. And improved readings in the text of both Dhwanyaloka and also Lochana. Actually, Ramasharaka, he has done this is in 1940. He completed. Actually, he started several years before. But it has went up to 1940 to publish it. And after some 3-4 years, I think I remember it is 1944, but I could not get the proper date because Professor Tyagarajan may be a man to, because this is published from Kuppuswamy Shastri. Professor Tyagarajan is working at present as an adjunct professor in Kuppuswamy Shastri. So Kuppuswamy Shastri Research Institute, Madras, brought out a critical edition of Dhwanyaloka, Lochana, Kaumudi by Uttungodaya, on Lochana. And Upalochana, named Upalochana, another commentary, by Kuppuswamy Shastri himself, on Udyoda 1, based on some southern manuscripts. Those manuscripts are not that much famous at the time, not that much familiar also. But nowadays in our research thesis, we come across those manuscripts, and we have come across several studies on those manuscripts. So anyway, though it is a very good edition of this Kuppuswamy Shastri's institute, as far as it goes, but it does not go beyond Udyoda 1. This work is only for Udyoda 1. So the rest is kept in oblivion. So, meanwhile, when K. Krishnamurti Professor K. Krishnamurthy from Dharwad University, who worked what we call very tremendous job in Dhwanyaloka studies, from Dharwad University, took up this work for a detailed study in 1946. This is in 45 and this is 44 and this is 46. So there is a continuation in the field of research pertaining to Dhwanyaloka. And in 1946 he started his work. He wrote out himself a translation, an English translation, a lucid, simple translation, literal translation, so to say, of Dhwanyaloka. That English translation, it is only for helping him, not for others. It is only for his sake he wrote this translation. He wrote this translation to work seriously on his PhD thesis in Mumbai University. This is from Mumbai, the Dhwanyaloka and its critics. So first one from this by Hiriyanna from Madras University, and the second one a serious study of a PhD. The other one is a MA PG dissertation. This is a PhD dissertation. This PhD dissertation, the Dhwanyaloka and its critics, that is the title of the doctoral thesis, and which was awarded the PhD degree in 1947. I think it is 1947. I am not very much sure. But anyway, very nearby, 46, 45, 46, like that. Actually, the disputes on the title name, Dhwanyaloka, and the authorship of Kariga and Vritti are being left without a discussion here. Krishnamurthy never entered in controversy. Scholars like S.P. Bhattacharya and such other people, P.V. Kane and other several scholars, they had a different standpoints as far as the authorship of the Moola and the Vritti of Dhwanyaloka. Several people argued that it belongs to two different individuals, not Dhwanikara, not Anandavardhana. Some people say that only Kariga has been written by Dhwanikara. Some people say that it is only Vritti has been written by Dhwanikara, Anandavardhana. Anyway, when he writes Moola, he is Moolakara, and when he writes Vritti, he is a Vrittikara. That is the expression normally we see in commentaries. And regarding the also what we call the date of the composition of Dhwanyaloka, all these things, and even name, even the title of the text is being questioned. Because you know very well, in the several texts, even people, scholars like Abhinavagupta, they have mentioned Dhwanyaloka as Kavyaloka, then Sahridayaloka, several names, several titles, and Dhwanyaloka. But anyway, nowadays we are dealing with the name, the title, only Dhwanyaloka. There are so many things to be told about those titles from the research point of view, but due to the paucity of time, I am not entering to that field. The Dhwanyaloka is an epoch-making work. Now I am entering to the test core. The work it is an epoch-making work, so to say, in Sanskrit poetics. Anandavardhana is said by Rajashekhara, Anandavardhana kasya nasid Anandavardhana. Anandavardhana builds a new structure of poetic theory on the foundation of the thought of his predecessors. He himself says that I am building this theory on the basis of the basis already constructed by the great predecessors in poetics, like Bharata, Bhamaha, Udbhada, Vamana, and etc. He was actually praised by Rajashekhara, Dhunina Adigabhirena Kavyatattva vidhayina Anandavardhana kasya nasid Anandavardhana. For the first time in the history of Indian thought, he asked basic questions relating to aesthetics and semantics and answers them systematically like a philosopher. He is not like a philosopher, he is a philosopher himself. He is the first man. I want to add here one more thing. He has his philosophical commitments. He is the first man to search the entire, what we call the chunk of literature as far as the Sanskrit poetics is concerned or aesthetics is concerned. At that time, there is no aesthetics. Only aesthetics has started from, as far as literally when you speak, the aesthetics has started from Dhwanyaloka onwards. Before Dhwanyaloka, whatever he speaks about Vamana, Dandin or other great scholars, they are poeticians. They are dealing with the external beauty of the poetry. They were dealing with the Shabda and Artha and their Alangaras. Even Gunas they were discussing. Vamana and other people, they were discussing about Gunas. But for them, Guna, even an Alangara, Saundarya Alangara, he says. So, it becomes, the efforts of Vamana have not gone to that level to search the soul of the poetry. So, the thing is that Anandavardhana is not as a philosopher, even though I have worded as a philosopher. He is a philosopher. He was a philosopher. He is a Kashmirian philosopher. And you know the connection between the Kashmir and Kerala. I am talking from Kerala. Here the listeners, those who are participating in this forum, I think most of them are come from outside Kerala. But I want to state with proudly that there is always an academic corridor between Kashmir and Kerala. And Anandavardhana's the text Dhwanyaloka and the readings of Lochana and Dhwanyaloka without devoid of any mistakes has been procured by Ramapisharaka from Kerala only. And you know, Abhinav Bharati, several portions are has been unearthed from Kerala. So, this would be the achievement, so to say, enough for a writer, so to say. But Anandavardhana goes beyond, far beyond a mere philosophical theory as far as Dhwani is concerned. He gives us the first time, again, in Indian poetics, examples of literary analysis and practical criticism. We first see the first man in the entire this what is poetics, the history of poetics. First man to think about Kavya, about its origin, its classifications, its appreciation, all these things, to think from the side of the colonizer, from the part of the Sahridaya. He is the first man. And he himself pledged in the beginning of Dhwanyaloka that he says, Tena Bruma Sahridaya Mana Pritaye Tat Surupam. Nobody was courageous enough to say that the reader also play a pivotal role as far as poetics is concerned or the Kavya literature is concerned. Abhinav Gupta, he himself in the Lochana, in the beginning, he starts with a Mangala Shloka, Apurvam Yad Vastu, Pradhaya Divina Karanagalam, Jagad Grava Prakhyam, Nija Rasabharal Sarayadicha, Kramat Prakhyo Pakhya Prasara Subagam, Bhasayadiyat, Saraswatyas Tattvam, Kavisahridayakyam Vijayati. Kavisahridayakyam. Their equal footing, equal importance has been given for poet and the colonizer. So, He, for the first time, Anandavardhana for the first time gives the examples of literary analysis and the practical criticism, the ways and means, the devices of the practical, how you approach a practically a kavya, a classical kavya. This is very important because up to that time there was no practical criticism. It is only a superficial one. It was only a scientific one. Shastriya ritya taihi etat kritam jarattareihi acharyaihi kintu navina drishtiya adhunada adhunika drishtiya sahityasya samagrataya samashti rupataya tatra sahityam samagrataya drishtva tatra samagra nirupanam aidam prathamyena tatra dhwanyaloke eva kritam drishyate. So, unlike his predecessors, actually, Anandavardhana gives a large number of illuminating examples from the best writers in Sanskrit literature. And also, he discusses, with insight, so to say, the reasons for their appeal to a man of taste. That is very important. Man of taste means Sahridaya. None can lay the charge that literary theory is considered in a vacuum in this work. Nobody can find something like that. Even the great critic, those who are not what we call could be resisted upon. So I am talking about Jagannatha Pandita. He is a man, he never accepted any what we call what do you say, that the Anandavardhana is Sarva Alankara Siddhanta Sthapaka. So he accepts the sovereignty in the field of poetics to Anandavardhana. So that is this is considered. He helps the Sahridaya to understand and appreciate poetry better. He has gone to the extent of saying, as I told you earlier, Tena Bruma Sahridayamana Pritaye Talsurupam. Actually, the modern ideas of ambiguity, implication, calculated complexity, the topics like irony, language of paradox, such several things which what we come across in the current literary criticism, we see the counterparts of these in different variations of Dhwani. He has shown several divisions of Dhwani, and you can come across these modern what we call approaches of practical literary criticism in Anandavardhana. Anandavardhana's novelty of approach is most evident in the third chapter, especially in third chapter. It is there throughout in Dhwanyaloka, but in third chapter, specifically I want to point out. I want to, before reading the Karigas, I want to what we call mention some solid points that Anandavardhana brought out first. Idam Prathamyena Avishkritam Anandavardhanena. What are those points? I will tell you those points which are very important, which are seemingly very significant. The relation of Sankhatana or phonetic patterns of diction to the psychological theme of rasa. That is one thing. That is first, Sankhatana and rasa, how they are related. And again, the canon of propriety, the theory of propriety, Auchitya Siddhanta, which decides the success or failure of a poet. Even though you can describe rasa in a very beautiful manner, if you have no propriety, then everything lost. You will lose the game. You will lose the battle. So, Anandavardhana with categorically he has stated that the significance of aujitya, that is why I have mentioned anaujityadrate nanyadrasabhangasya karanam. And again the third point, the question of angangi bhava of rasas. That's also very important. Nobody has touched these points previously. But because of his humbleness, Anandavardhana often and on he quotes that he is following his predecessors. Samamnada purvaha. He says Samamnada purvaha. Samyak amnadaha prakatitaha. So these are my predecessors, my gurus, my teachers, my great predecessors, Purvacharya, Samyak Avishkritam. This is only his simplicity. But he got some urja, some energy from their descriptions, no doubt about it. But these theories are novel and never touched upon by any of his predecessors. And again, the fourth one is determinants of rasas. And fifth one, I will very speedily I will finish this point, that opposition and harmony between rasas, rasa virodhas, and how rasa becomes angangi bhava, and how rasa virodha can be removed, solved, and such. Then again, the status of the aesthetic concepts like alankara, guna, riti, vritti, something, all these things. Charitva hetavaha, guna alankara ritayaha. So the connection with the charitva hetavaha, the charitva hetus, with the charitva sthana, that is called rasa. And again, the beauty of figurative meaning with connecting with rasa. How alankara and rasa work together. Rasavandihi vastuni salankarani kanichit egenaiva prayatnena nirvartyante mahagavehe. This karika is very significant. This is not actually karika, it is a parikara shloka. This parikara shloka has been more than a karika. This has been treated as a theory, and this has been treated or given, elevated to the position of a karika. And again, another very great interesting point is the connection of alankara and alankarya. This kind of thinking was not there in the history of poetics up to Anandavardhana. Alankara and alankarya. You are adorning the kavya. So when you do that, then which you are adorning? What is the charitva sthana? You are wearing a necklace. Where you wear that necklace? You in the neck. So neck is the charitva sthana, and the necklace is the charitva hetu. So this is the connection between upama, ulprecha, deepaka, rupaka, like that, such figures of speech and rasa. So they are angangi bhava and their combination. This was first being brooded over by Anandavardhana. And he was talking about the language, the worldly language and poetic language. This was the first time. Laukika bhasha, which we use ordinarily by people at large. And the kavya bhasha, that is, which is full of vakrokti. Vaijitra bhangi bhaniti. This he has explained in detail in several places. So the division of language as worldly language and the poetic language. And again, realizing the soul of poetry as in Upanishads. As in Upanishads, that means in the Upanishads, you go deeper and deeper. Anoraniyan, anu, from sthula tama, you go to sthulatara, then sthula, then sukshma, sukshmatara, and at the end, sukshmatama. That sukshmatama, that is the soul of the poetry, the rasa. And the alankara, the guna, riti, all these things are just like treated or compared to the, in the philosophical language as koshas. Alankara kosha, guna kosha, like that. And crossing all these things, finally you have the emancipation, the final destination you reach, that is rasa. And again, he has given 12 points, I want to say. There are more than 12, but I am limiting into some significant 12 points. Now, up to 10 I have told. The 11th one is the creativity and the unique creativity. That means Pratibha and Pratibha Vishesha. What is the difference between Pratibha and Pratibha Vishesha? He talks only about Rasa Dhwani. He talks Dhwani. Dhwani divided into Vastu, Alankara and Rasa. Trikanda Dhwani. And from that again he comes to only Rasa Dhwani. Kavyasya Atma Saye Vartha. Through that Kariga he establishes the Rasa Dhwani. And finally he establishes Rasa Dhwani. That is the soul of the poetry. Kavyasya Atma Saye Vartha. That Rasarupa Artha. That Rasarupa Artha eva Kavyasya Atma. This is what he has established. So, here in Dhwanyaloka he mentions about the unique creativity, not ordinary creativity. From ordinary creativity you will have Kavya. From ordinary Pratibha you will have Kavya. But from unique creativity you can create the unique Kavya, that is called Kavya Vishesha. That is why in Dhwanikarika, Yatrartha Shabdova Tamartham Upasarjani Krita Swarthau Vyangta Kavya Vishesha Sadhwani Iti Suribhik Kachidha Iti Uktam. So the creativity and this one. And again, the last one, Pradiyamana, the Vyangyartha, is divided into Laukika and Alaukika. Pradiyamana is Vastu, Alankara and Rasa. In 3 different divisions are there, showed by him, Trikanda Dhwani. And Vastu and Alankara, they can be depicted in Vachyartha and also in Vyangyartha. So, it comes in Vachyartha also, that it means it is somewhat inferior type. But as far as Rasa is concerned, Rasa is always Alaukika, is not Laukika. It is not inferior in nature because it always appears only through Vyanjana. Vyanjana is the Alaukika Vyapara of Kavya. That brings the soul of the poetry. The entire soul, the divine element in the Kavya Sharira, that has been brought by Vyanjana. So, Vyangta Kavya Vishesha, the word Vyangta. So, here Anandavardhana mentions these 2 points, that is Laukika and Alaukika. Now, coming to the what we call the Pratiyamanartha, there is some what we call 2 Karigas. I think whatever I want to deliver here comes to now main thing. I think I can take some 10 to 15 minutes more. 10 minutes. See, these Karigas I have mentioned in this type of introduction, showing the uniqueness and the peculiar approach in Indian poetics based on philosophy is very much required. Otherwise, the people cannot follow what we say now. So there are what we call several Karigas dealing with the Pratiyamanartha and Rasadhwani. But in the beginning, starting from the first Kariga, after Mangala Charana, the first shloka comes, that is Kavyasya Atma Dhwani Budhaihi. That is, I am skipping over because that is already known. He is pledging that the Atma, the soul of the poetry, is Dhwani. And later he says that there are 2 types of meaning in the entire Kavya literature. That is, one is Vachyartha and other one is Pratiyamanartha. Yortha Sahridaya Shlaghya Kavya Atmedi Vyavasthidaha Vachya Pratiyamanakhyo tasya bheda ubhau smritau. So he has mentioned two meanings, and then next karika, that is the third karika, he mentions tatra vachya prasiddhoya prakareir upamadibhi bahutha vyagrata sonyaihi tato neha pradanyate. He says that among these two meanings, both are important, both are needed for the study of kavya. The first one is Vachyartha and second one is Vyangyartha. What is the connection between Vachya and Vyangya? Vachya is the Vyanjaka and the Vyangya is the dominant meaning, the ultimate what we call destination of the poetic appreciation. That is the final, that what we call the goal of the poetry. Lakshyabhutaha arthaha. That is the destination. So, Vachyartha is not Vyangyartha. But in Vachya, the main vyapara called Vyanjana is being what we call originated or from the sprout from the what we call Vachya, and through the work of Vyanjana Vyapara, the Vyangyartha comes out. So, through Vyanjana Vyapara, the Vyangyartha has been released. So, with this, he has explained that the Vachyartha, which is directly dealing with the Shabda and Artha and their Alankaras and the other embellishments, all those things are well discussed in detail regarding the body of the poem, the body of the Kavya Sharira, has been discussed in detail by our predecessors. So, tato neha pratanyate. That is, because of that, I am not giving any detailed account or any detailed discussion being made here, because that is not necessary. So, I am straightly entering to the Pradiyamanartha. That has not been discussed by anybody. Pradiyamanam punaranyadeva vastu asti vanishu mahakavinam yatat prasiddhavayavadidikram vibhadi lavanyamivanganasu. Then, Pradiyamanam punaranyadeva vastu asti vanishu mahakavinam yattat prasiddhavayavadidikram vibhadi lavanyamiva anganasu. But what he says that there is two meanings in a kavya. The Lakshyartha is not counted separately because that is called Abhita Puchha. That is only a tail of Abhita. So it is not, wherever there is Mukhyartha Badha, there is any problem with the primary meaning, then the Lakshana Vyapara comes. Only in such places there is relevance for Lakshana, otherwise not. So, major division, as far as the semantics is concerned, the semantics is divided into two. That is the explicit and the implicit. Pradiyamanam, so yortha sahridaya shlaghyaha kavyatmedi vyavasthitaha vachya pradiyamanakhyau tasya bheda ubhau smritau. So he has divided into two, and he says that these two meanings are explicit meaning and implicit meaning. Explicit is Vachya and implicit is Vyangya. But the implicit aspect is quite different from this, from Vachya. Pradiyam manam punaha anyadeva. Anyad eva. Eva means, it means certain. Certainly, it is different. Anyadeva bhavati. Kasmat. Pradiyamanarthaha kasmad anyaha bhavati. Pradiyamanarthaha vachyarthad anyaha bhavati. Yatohi purva prakranta paramarsaha purvam vachyartha vishaye tatra charcha krita tato neha pradanyate. Regarding Vachyartha, I am not explaining, I am not discussing anything, because that has been well done by my predecessors. So, but this second meaning, that is called the Pradiyamanartha, which was not discussed by any of my elders. For the first time I am discussing this Pratiyamanartha, and that Pratiyamanartha is entirely different, is quite different. Quite different means sometimes it can go up to the level of just opposite meaning. Whatever you given in Vachya, the Vyangyartha will be entirely different, just maybe opposite. When you speak about Vidhi, it will be a Nishedha. If it is a Nishedha in Vachyartha, it will be a Vidhi in Vyangyartha. So it is just opposite. So that is why Anyadeva. So Pratiyamanartha, Vyangyartha, that is the meaning, the implicit meaning, the meaning, the suggestive meaning, that is entirely different from Vachyartha. Appo Anyat Vastu Asti Kutra Mahakavinam Vanishu. Pratiyamanam punar Anyadeva Vastu Asti Vanishu Mahakavina. Anandavardhana is very particular, as I told you earlier, that he always talks about Mahakavi and Mahakavya. Even Gunibhuta Vyangya, the inferior type of Kavya, where the rasa is subordinate, not getting that much predominance, importance, significance. Even there, even those poems, just like Upodharagena Vilolatarakam, Upodharagena Vilolatarakam Tatha Grihitam Sashina Nishamukham, such, that is written by Panini. Such verses, which are supposed to be an Alangara Kavya, which is supposed to be a Gunibhuta Vyangya Kavya. By most of the rhetoricians opine that this is a what we call Gunibhuta Vyangya Kavya, that is a inferior type of Kavya. But even that Kavya, he says that because of the presence of rasa, it can be considered, it can be included in Dhwani. So he has given his own reasons for that. His own logic he has presented there. So what is said that the Pratiyamanartha, that is what I want to say, that Mahakavis and Mahakavyas and Pratibha Vishesha, these are connected. A Mahakavi is known. A Mahakavi is known, a poet who is endowed with Pratibha Vishesha. What I spoke earlier, the unique Pratibha, not ordinary type of Pratibha. From ordinary type of Pratibha, ordinary Kavya will come out, can be composed. But Pratibha Vishesha, in next coming Kariga, Anandavardhana himself says that Saraswati Swadu Tadartha Vastu Nishyandamana Mahadam Kavinam Aloka Samanyam Abhivyanakti Parispurandam Pratibha Vishesham. So Mahakavinam Pratibha Vishesha, these two words are reflected there. In most of the Karigas, wherever he discusses about the creativity, he talks about the unique creativity only, the Pratibha Vishesha only. Vishishta Pratibha Vishesha. The Pratibha which is Vishishta, unique in nature. So, the implicit aspect is quite different from this, from Vachya. In the words of first-rate poets, it shines supreme. And also, it towers above what we call the beauty of the striking external constituents, even as charm in ladies. Anganasu lavanyamiva. Pratiyamanam pura anyadeva vastu asti vanishu mahakavinam. Yattal yad tad iti yachabda paramarshena pratiyamanartha grihyate. Here it is referred, Pratiyamanartha is being referred. Pratiyamanartha is how it is. Prasiddhavayavadiriktam. It is prasiddhebhya, avayebhya, avayavebhya, prithak vartate, bhinnaha vartate. It is entirely different from Shabda. It is entirely different from Artha. These are the two limbs of the Kavya. These are the two limbs of the Kavya. Shabda and Artha. Ishtartha Vyavachinna Padavali Kavyam. Shariram Tavad Ishtartha Vyavachinna Padavali. This is what Dandi told. So, Shabda and Artha is the body. And the soul is Rasa. So, Shabda and Artha, these and their alankaras, there are, for the beauty of Shabda, we add Shabda Alankara. For the beauty of Artha, we, just like we wear the what we call bracelets and necklace and other things in our different parts of the body, in the Kavya also you add to Shabda and Artha separately the Shabdalankaras and Arthalankaras, and for enriching the beauty. So that beauty finally not rest in that Avayava. It goes to Avayavi. It goes to the prime, the principle, the main sentiment, the main what we call theme of the Kavya, that is called Rasa. And Charutva Sthana is Rasa. Finally, all these Alankaras, whatever you use, even you use a simple Shabdalankara, even that, the charm derived out of that Alankara, it goes finally, the final destination is Rasa. That is what Anandavardhana says. So, all these, it excels all these external elements. So, Pradiyamanam, how it is? There he gives a very befitting upama, Anganasu Lavanyamiva. Yatha Anganasu Lavanyamiva. Anganasu Lavanyam katham vartate? Anganasu Lavanyam prathak vartate. Nadu Avayava Nishtha vartate. Avayava Nishtha tasya nasti. Avayavebhyaha anyad vartate. Avayavebhyaha anyad. Prati sharira prati avayavam tasya anya avastha asti. Kintu tad samuhalambana rupena tatra samagra shariram ashritya tatra saundaryam tishtati. Kavya sharira saundaryam tishtati iti kritva tatra prasiddhebhya avayavebhya avayava samsthanebhya asya anyat vibhinna. It is entirely different from that. So, it is different from Shabda and Artha, and from Shabdalankaras and Arthalankaras. It is different from Guna, Vritti, Ridi, all those Kavya, Chamalkara Hedus, Kavya Charutva Hedus. There are several things in Kavya as are considered as Kavya Charutva Hetu. Those all Kavya Charutva Hedus are being put, are treated as external. It is considered Charutva Hetava Proktaha Guna Alankara Ritayaha. So all these are connected with the body. But the Lavanya, finally, it is in what we call, it is in Atma. So, Anganasu Lavanyamiva Prathak Vartate. It is the Parthakyam Pradarshayidum Prathaktada Parthakyam. Its difference from Shabda and Artha, from Kavya Sharira. The original beauty of the Kavya lies in Rasa. And that is, its substratum is Rasa. And it depends on Rasa. And it starts from body, but it finally goes and it rests in Rasa. So it is entirely different from Shabda and Artha, that what he says. So he says that Pradiyamana Artha is entirely different from Shabda and Artha. Shabda and Artha, it is Vachya. Vachyartha is different from Pradiyamana Artha. And Pradiyamana Artha is Pradiyamanam Punar Anyadeva Vastu. So it is entirely different from the Vachya. Mahakavinam Vanishu. Mahakavinam Vanishu Nama Mahakavyeshu Kimasti Pradiyamanam Asti. Pradiyamanam Tatra Atma Rupena Tatra Tasya Avasthidihi Vartate. Tasya Sthidihi Vartate. So, he is explaining the first time in the history of poetics, he explains the entire theory of Dhwani in this Kariga, and he shows how it is entirely different from Vachya, Vachaka and Vachya, that is Shabda and Artha, and their Alangaras, Shabda Alangara and Artha Alangara. There are so many Shabda Alangaras are there, so many Artha Alangaras are there. All these things are different, and from all these, it is different. That is, rasa is different. And rasa, that Pratiyamanartha is, rasa rupa. That is what he want to say. That he says that even though Pratiyamanartha is divided into Vastu, Alangara and Rasa, since these Vastu and Alangara can come as Vachya, it is something of an inferior type. Hence, through this Vastu and Alangara, a real connoisseur, a real Sahrdaya, he marches towards the final destination, where the entire Charutva, entire beauty of the Kavya rests. That is Rasa, the soul of poetry. So he says that the soul of poetry is Rasa, because Rasa is transformed into Kavya. Actually, not Shabda and Artha. Kavya is not actually Shabda and Artha. Actually, Rasa has been when Rasa Samahita Chetasa Kavehe, when Kavi is pregnant with, his mind is pregnant with the emotions, the bhavas, the rasas. That rasa and bhava takes in two different shapes, that is Shabda and Artha, and it comes out in the form of a Kavya. So, the Shabda and Artha, they are being combined with what we call Nitya Sambandha. It has been combined together and take the form of shape of a Kavya and come out from the mouth of the poet. It is it is the main substance of that Kavya is Rasa. Rasa is transformed into the what we call Shabda and Artha. That is why we feel the enjoyment, we feel the pleasure in reading Kavya. When we hear Shabda, when we hear Artha, when you hear Narayaniyam, for example, Venunada Kritatana Dana Kalagana Raga Gadi Yojana Lobhaniya Mrudu Pada Pada Kritatala Melana Manovaram. Like that, so many Shabdalangaras are there, so many Arthalangaras are there, so many embellishments, so many figures of speech of different types which serve different purposes. But all this is finally, it goes to the beauty of Rasa, and it being what we call a subordinate to Rasa. So Rasa is being suggested. This is being explained in the next Kariga. These two Karigas I want to explain here. The next Kariga is Kavyasyatma Sayevartha. Kavyasyatma Sayevartha Tathacha Adikave Pura Kraunjadondwa Viyogotha Soga Slogatwamagata. So, here the I will come to that Kariga once more, that here what we call there are several. I want to quote one or two slokas from Kalidasa because it is too late. I have some very, very what we call the sweetest verses by Kalidasa, highly philosophical, highly rasanarbhara, and highly what we call embellished by the poetic embellishments, and such very, very selective poems, slokas. I want to select, and I have selected and kept with me, but I don't think that I have time, because to explain one sloka it requires more than 1 hour or at least 45 minutes. So that is my total time, so to say. So that is the difficulty. So there are several slokas like in Shakuntala, when you enter to Kalidasa, the entire Kalidasa work, you can see that full of such slokas. Full, each letter if you take, that letter is full of rasa, full of sentiment. That is his Mahakavitva. He becomes Mahakavi only because of that. That type of rasa nirbharatva is being implemented in each syllable. He takes each syllable, he takes each word to his poetry. He receives that poetry, he takes with his own hand, and his hand is full of rasa. So the entire rasa has been spared in the words of Kalidasa. Here, what we call, when we come to the next, what we call the first-rate poets, when we speak about the meaning of the sentiments alone in the soul of poetry. So, actually what we say, the meaning in the form of sentiments, that Sringara, Karuna, Veera, Raudra, such things. All these things are highly philosophical. People, when they discuss at a mundane level, at a worldly level, they think about Sringara, Karuna and other things, such things as something very worldly matter. But in Kavya, it is not like that. Kavya has a different dimension. It has a different level. That is what Anandavardhana and Abhinavagupta says, these philosophers. They say that it is a divine spiritual plane. It is something philosophical. And the meaning in the form of sentiments alone is the soul of poetry. Kavyasyatma sayevartha. That is, I am explaining the next karika. The meaning of the form of the sentiments alone is the soul of poetry. And so, it was that of yore. The sorrow of the first poet, Valmiki. Adikave pura. Kim sambhudam. Adikavehe anubhavaha kidrishaha vartade kavya nirmane. Ramayana nirmane Mahakavi Valmikehe anubhavaha kidrishaha asit. Alaukikaha asit. Tesham Kraunjadondu Viyogothaha Shokaha. Tesham Shokatwamagataha. Shokaha Slokatwamagataha. Here the poet, the Anandavardhana says, the Shoka transformed into Shloka. Kasya. Whose Shoka? Whose sorrow? Whose this sentiment? Pathos. Nadu Valmikehe. Never mentioned the word, used the word Valmiki. Adikavehe. He says Adikavehe. The Valmiki is a worldly man. His sorrow cannot, his pathos cannot transform to a kavya. If you are really endowed with pratibha, if you are endowed with a unique pratibha, unique creativity, such a kavi, such a Mahakavi, only in him you can see this beautiful transformation. How this Shoka, the Mahakavehe Shokaha, the sorrow of the great poet, the Pratibha Visishtaha Mahakavihi, Tasya Shokaha Katham Parinataha, Shlokatvena Parinataha. So, the Shoka becomes the Shloka. The entire literature in the world, the first example is Valmiki. The example of Valmiki, there are so many things to be discussed in this matter. Finally, it comes to Karuna Rasa. That is, the basic Sthayi Bhava is pathos. That is Shoka. So, that is the first poet. The poets, the principle now put forth by Anandavardhana is that only a poet's feeling will become universal and it can be enjoyed by everybody. Muraleemadhavan's sorrow will not be appreciated by any other person. My Ananda is not the Ananda of others. My Sringara is not a Sringara which creates enjoyment to others. In the world, everybody is having its own individual approach to all these things. And their enjoyment is not an enjoyment for others. But in the world of Kavya, in physical world, we are talking about this. But in the world of Kavya, in the world of poetry, the case is entirely different. There, the shoka of the Kraunja bird, whom Valmiki saw at a sight, and that sorrow became transformed in the mind of the poet, and that has been what we call changed to a poetry. So, the meaning alone, now I am concluding by this, that what I mean precisely, what I want to say is that meaning alone happens to be the quintessence of poetry, whose outward charm is secured by the combination of varied and uncommon explicit meanings, expressions, and art of arrangement, that is, embellishments, figures of speech like that. That is why the sorrow of the first poet, not of Valmiki, on hearing the wail of the he curlew, that the he Krauncha, the Kraunja bird, afflicted with the separation from its close mate, his companion, life companion, transformed itself into a distich. Sorrow indeed is the abiding emotion, which is at the basis of what we call the sentiment of pathos. As already explained, it is only of the nature of the implicit meaning, Vyangyartha. Though one can discern other species of the implicit, they can all be understood by the what we call the synecdoche. Synecdoche means it is a alankara in Greek language, synecdoche, that is explaining the whole with a partial expression. We used to say, the India won for 6 wickets. It is only a partial statement. The full statement is that Indian team, cricket team, succeeded in the game, scoring or taking 6 wickets. So this is the full statement. So without mentioning full statement, with a partial portion of that, when you express something, that is a type of alankara. That is a type of what we call effective speech. So with this synecdoche is the of the sentiments. The speech of first-rate poets streaming forth that sweet content, that means rasa, reveals clearly their extraordinary genius, which is as unearthly as it is ever bright. So it is always bright, it is always unearthly, alaugika. So I think Anandavardhana says that such first-rate poets, those who write rasadhvani kavyas, those who can compose rasadhvani kavyas, they are the first-rate poets, like Valmiki, Vyasa, Bhasa, Kalidasa, like that, such great people. He himself says, he concludes this discussion, Anandavardhana, by telling Kalidasadhyaha Dyutraha Panjashava Mahakavayaha Idi Ganyante. So we count only 2, 3 or maximum 5 or 6 great poets in the entire world. That's what he said. With these observations, I beg to remain. Actually, it is a great, vast subject, and so many people, those who are attending, they don't have even preliminary knowledge of that. They are scholars in different fields, but as far as Rasa Dhwani and Dhwani concept is concerned, it is not that much they are informed of. Hence, I have given some detailed discussion, introduction, and then ended to the subject. And Pradiyama, yes, Pradiyamanam punaranyadeva vastu asti Vanishu Mahakavinam Yattat Prasiddhavayavadivikram Vibhadi Lavanyamivanganasu. This is the fourth Karika. Kavyasyatma saye varthaha Tathacha adikave pura Kraunja Dundva Viyogotha Shoga Shlokatvamagata is the the fifth Karika. The fourth and fifth Karika put together. These two Karikas they put together. They establish Pradiyamanartha, that Vyangyartha in the Kavya, and also that Vyangyartha in the form of Rasa. So, with this, I beg to remain. I thank Professor Srikala Nair, who is the, what we call, learned professor of Shankaracharya University, who heads the ISS to organize such programs. And I express my thanks to all my colleagues in the Shankaracharya University. Even though I retired some 10-12 years back, still I am going to university for giving several lectures. Last week I was talking about Bhartrihari on his some controversies on Vivartavada, and with these observations I beg to remain. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have partially I have referred on Rasavalankara of Panini's shloka I have quoted, Ubodharagena Vilola Taragam, that comes under the Rasavalankara. Yeah, yeah. Shivedrakshade. Thank you, thank you. Yes, very, very, very excellent and provoking question. Actually, uh, actually, it is very interesting to answer for this. Actually, my answer is already there, given in a very sutra rupa, uh, where I was explaining Vatmiki. It is not of Vatmiki; it is of Adikavi. There he mentioned. There the Anandavardhana is of opinion that there is no individual, no other can talk. Valmiki is not talking there. Anandavardhana says that it is Adi Kavi, not Valmiki. So it is not personalized. No personalized approach. It is universal. The author, the real author is talking universally. There, his authorship dissolves. His authorship dissolved there. And you cannot find out. You can search the author, but you cannot find out. Because he talks for, this is what in Bhagavata, Narada advises Brahma, the creator, that there he says that the real Kavi, he is working for Loka Sangraha. Loka Sangraha is for the entire benefit of the world. That is universalized. So, once you talk, see, actually what happens in Pratiyamanartha, in Vengyartha, when you see a cinema, when you see a drama, when you read a poem, what really happens? Really, your mind is full of Venjana. That Venjana Vyapara, what is the work of that Venjana Vyapara? Venjana Vyapara, you universalize everything. It becomes Alavukika. All Laukika aspects, all mine, yours, and such thing, aham, yuam, yuyam, such feelings, everything will disappear. No such feeling. Mamaivede, Shatrurevede, Tadasthasevede. Na mamaivede, na Tadasthasevede. Such feelings they go. And the Mamada says, Deve has mentioned Kavya Prakasha. Mamadabhatta. There, Mamadabhatta says that when this rasa comes, when the poet writes, when the rasa comes out of in the form of Shabda and Artha, then he says, very beautiful quotation is there. Puraiva Parispuran. Puraiva Parispuran. It is just science in front of you. You can see the rasa in front of you. Puraiva Parispuran. When you look inside, when you go look outside, it is in your front. When you look inside, Hridayam your provision. Sarvanginam your alingan. It is embracing all our limbs. Sarvanginam your alingan. Anyat sarvam eva tirodhathat. It prohibits all other things except rasa. Rasa is very clever. It is able to prohibit all other things. And it, what we call, it restrains our relishing that experience, that of rasa. It creates that we feel that only rasa exists, nothing that. This is what actually Narayaniya in the last Dashaka, Agre Pashyami Dejota, Piyush Aplavitoham. There the Piyusha is Kavirasa. Piyush Aplavita means that when you what we call jump in the water in a sea or a pond, what happens? Your outside is also water, your inside also water. It is full of water. Yada Purna Kumbha miva Arnave. Yada Purna Kumbha, a Kumbha is put in the tank. The outside is also full water. Inside the Kumbha also it is full of water. So like that it happens. So this is clearly stated by Kavya Prakashakara. So what Professor Srikala Nair has mentioned, it is 100% correct, and that is already, because of the paucity of time, I could not mention 2-3 points. Actually, I would have told that also. So but anyway, this is a good chance that we got a proper question. We can answer properly only when you get a proper question. That is, so proper questions are required from the audience. Then only we can. That's why I could quote this Kavya. Immediately when they spoke about it, I recollected this passage. I taught several times in my MA class and even for PhD students. So how he explains rasa beautifully. I think perhaps in our what we call is the text on poetics, Kavya Prakasha is the systematic work where you can see hundreds of such quotations which explain actually rasa is vajama gochara. It is above words. Language is a poor medium to explain rasa. But still, Kavya Prakasakara explains in a very beautiful way through language. Yes. Aha. Very good. Yeah. Now, even pathos is called rasa. Yes. Process Srigala, actually, I want to talk all these points. In Dhwanikara, Anandavardhana, he speaks at length on Vyanjana. What is the divine qualities or the potentials of Vyanjana? He says that there are two potentials of Vyanjana. Vyanjana is the prana nadi of Kavya. The real life blood is this Vyanjana. And Vyanjana's two potentials, one is Sukha Janagatva. One is Sukha Janagatva, creating Sukha. And Dukkha Pratibandhakatva, that is prohibiting Dukkha. So it prohibits Dukkha and it creates Sukha. So Sahityakara will be having all, that is why all the 9 bhavas are enjoyment only. Whether it is Shoga, Karuna or Raudra, Bibhalsa, Bhayanaka, whatever it may be, all the 9 rasas, these are called rasas because Rasyade iti rasaha. When you release it, when you can release it, then it is rasa. Otherwise not. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. That is your quotation that you have made. That is entirely different from Indian culture. But still, they think alike. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.